Over the last 2 decades, Air India has earned itself a reputation of flying an aging fleet with outdated cabins where even the most basic onboard features are either broken or not functioning, such as the seats themselves, tray tables, their in-flight entertainment systems, which would have probably been considered high-tech in the 1990s, and in the case of one very unfortunate UN diplomat, cockroaches on board an outbound flight from New York. But the airline wasn't always this way. In fact, back in the 1970s, when Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew wanted to establish a new world-class airline, he looked up to Air India for inspiration because of their exceptional service. Today, Singapore Airlines is the best in the world as of 2023. So how on earth did Air India, once hailed for their high standards of comfort and service on board, end up as what it is today, and how is the airline planning to regain its former glory? In order to understand where Air India went wrong in the first place, let's go back to the very beginning. Back in 1932, J.R.D. Tata, the pioneer of Indian aviation, established Tata Air Services, which carried mail and some passengers on the de Havilland Puss Moth. While the airline only carried 155 passengers that entire year, it was envied by other airlines for its unrivaled efficiency and on-time performance. Later that decade, Tata Air Services became a commercial airline and saw its success grow with the addition of more destinations. However, its operations were temporarily suspended due to World War II. After India gained independence, the newly formed government took 49% stake in Tata Airlines and renamed it Air India, which made its first long-haul flight from then Bombay to London Heathrow via Beirut and Geneva on their Lockheed Constellation, marking the beginning of the golden era in Indian aviation. 5 years later, however, the government took full control of Air India, much to Tata's initial displeasure. He stated, "I am particularly anxious that the present standards of Air India should not be adversely affected by nationalization." Well, that didn't age well. Despite his misgivings, Tata returned to become chairman of Air India, and under his leadership, the carrier grew to great heights. In 1960, Air India became the first ever Asian airline to operate a jet airliner after receiving its first Boeing 707 at a time when only giants like Pan Am and BOAC had them. It was during this time that Air India was considered one of the best in the world, with J.R.D. Tata personally making sure the cabins were up to his high standards. As Emirates President Sir Tim Clark fondly recollects, the interiors were to die for, the staff were super friendly, and he could still remember the food. Throughout the 60s and 70s, Air India continued rapidly expanding, increasing their connectivity and using modern state-of-the-art aircraft such as the 747 and later the A310. But towards the end of the 70s, J.R.D. Tata, the man behind the success of it all, was fired over a minor dispute with the government over serving alcohol on international flights. This marked the beginning of Air India's downfall. While Air India's success continued initially, their growth was slowing down, and in 1991, when India was facing a major economic crisis, the government allowed private airlines once again. With this, airlines like Jet Airways and later low-cost carriers Indigo and SpiceJet started capturing the domestic market, while foreign airlines, especially Middle Eastern ones such as Emirates and Qatar, slowly began dominating the international market. Not to mention issues within Air India such as mismanagement and lack of oversight led to the deterioration of its fleet. All of this resulted in staggering losses for Air India, which became privatized by none other than Tata Group, now a huge multinational corporation in early 2022. Now, under Tata's leadership, Air India's days as a failing airline are gradually coming to an end. The airline announced earlier this year that they are hiring 5,000 new cabin crew and pilots who would undergo extensive training in safety and hospitality. This is likely in order to support the operations of the 470 aircraft Air India ordered in a mega deal with Boeing and Airbus, which includes 70 state-of-the-art wide-bodies such as the 787-9 Dreamliner, A350-1000, and the long-awaited 777X to replace their current wide-body fleet. Some of the A350s are expected to arrive as early as this year, though most of the order will be delivered by mid-2025. In the meantime, Air India has leased retired aircraft from other airlines in order to offer a better passenger experience. Air India has already deployed ex-Delta 777-200LRs on some routes to the US, which offer Delta One business class suites as well as premium economy. 3 former Singapore and 6 former Etihad 777-300ERs are expected to join the fleet within the coming year as well. But Air India can't create a brand for itself by operating other airlines' unwanted aircraft. That's why they unveiled a fresh livery and a complete transformation of their cabins on their legacy widebodies. The makeover will feature first and business class suites in a 1-to-1 configuration, the only difference between the two being less space and smaller screens in business, as well as bright red premium economy and economy seats. The soft purple hues on the business and first class seats could be a symbolic reference to Vistara, a joint venture between Singapore Airlines and Tata, which will be merged with Air India in 2024, the same year all legacy aircraft are retrofitted with these new interiors. The merger with Vistara along with 2 other lesser-known airlines will expand Air India's route frequency. Air India's story has truly been a full circle. First established by Tata and now under their ownership once again. It served as the inspiration for Singapore Airlines, and now Singapore will hold a stake in the new Air India after the merger. But the question remains, once the Air India transformation is complete, can it really become a major player in the global aviation industry, competing with the likes of Emirates and Qatar? Well, India possesses 2 key advantages when it comes to aviation. Number 1 being geographic centrality. India's prime location right in between major economic hubs in Europe, East Asia, and Oceania makes it an ideal stop for passengers connecting between them. Number 2 is the sheer demand for flights to and from India. Emirates' busiest market last year were flights between London and Indian cities, and this winter Air India along with United and American have scheduled a record high 82 weekly non-stop flights between the 2 countries. The largest factor that determines the success of a route, other than the price of course, is the total travel time. Flying non-stop to India reduces the overall travel time compared to connecting at a Middle Eastern hub, giving Air India a huge competitive advantage. Therefore, the odds are very much in Air India's favor, but whether or not the carrier can make it remains to be seen. And that concludes the longest video I've made till date, so thank you for watching till the very end.